And it is 50 points, 15 questions. So you will be asked, there are going to be 3 questions where you are going to be asked to rewrite in standard form. If I was asking you what that means, Abby, what would you say to rewrite in standard form means? So the 3 terms, what kind of order do they have to be in standard form? So we have to have them, when we write in standard form, there's going to be 3 of those you have to rewrite so that you go from the largest exponent down to the smallest, or maybe your constant, right? Constant has, remember, when we look at that constant, that has if we're looking at the degree of a constant is 0. You are also going to be asked in those same problems, after you rewrite in standard form, you are going to be asked to name it. When you name, I am looking at the degree, and then I am looking at the number of terms. For the degrees up to 3, you need to use the correct name. So when it is first degree, second, or third, you have to use the right name. First degree, Taylor, do you remember? That's when we look at the number of terms. So first we're going to look at just the degree. Degree, Mallory, you remember? First degree? Sorry, you remember? Linear. So that would be, right, if I have just x, right? If I have a term with just one variable and that exponent is 1, that's linear. Second degree, Jack? Quadratic. And only if I'm looking at third degree, cubic. The names, you will need to tell me the names for the number of terms. So when we look at our number of terms, if I'm looking at 1 term, 2, 3, and we'll probably go 4 or more. Okay. Same thing here with 4 or more. We just call that a 4th degree, 5th degree, okay? So if you're looking at those, if it has 7th degree, you call it a 7th degree, okay? So when we have 1 term, do you remember, Lainey, the name? Monomial. And Caden, if we were looking at 2 terms?
I don't know.
Binomial. And Maria, 3 terms is? Trinomial. And above that, if I'm looking for the name, Brecken, we would call it a what? Just a polynomial. Okay. So making sure you know that vocab, that was in our first lesson. Okay. So that's the first 3 questions are doing that kind of stuff. Then the next 5 questions are going to ask you to add or subtract. And it will say simplify. Anytime, so if it says simplify, add or subtract. What that means is you still need to get it in after you get your answer in standard form. Okay? So all of your answers on the whole quiz need to be in standard form, okay, when I'm looking at those, okay? The next 5 questions are going to happen to be where we are going to be asked to simplify and multiply. So, that could be just as simple as the distributive property, right? It could be one thing out in front of the parenthesis. It could be a binomial times a binomial. It could be a binomial times a trinomial. It could be our special ones that we've just done yesterday, right? So any of those type of problems. If you get stuck and you don't remember our special ones, right? You don't remember, oh, I don't remember when it's x minus 5 times x plus 5. I don't remember the rule. Then multiply it out, right? Take x times x, so you can use that box method, right? You can use the distributive property, okay? So if you get stuck, you have many ways of looking at one of the problems. If you don't remember x minus 5 squared, how to get that special answer, make the box, right? And put x minus 5 and x minus 5. X minus 5, if you like doing it that way, and x minus 5. And you can solve it that way every single time. You do not have to remember those patterns. The patterns just make it easier for when we have to work backwards and we have to factor, so that you recognize certain things about those numbers, okay? And then the last 2 questions that you are going to see on the quiz tomorrow are going to be problems where I ask you to factor. So you're going to be asked to write it in factored form. And as you look at the review tonight, if you're looking at page 510, as you look at that, so these are the simplified doing the product, right? So those are simplified doing product. These are simplify with the sum and difference. These are naming them, right? And putting them in standard form. These are telling just the degree. As you look at here, these are the multiplying. Here would be a factor one, right? So the factoring ones, like we factored out greatest common factor, and then your parenthesis, what was in there. And then these are more practice on multiplying. So if you are able to go through this review that's on page 510, you should be okay getting ready for the quiz.